80 years ago, The Wizard of Oz came out on August 25th, 1939, and golly, what a wonderful day that must have been. This is a film that has forever left its magical mark upon cinema, and upon my soul as well. The Wizard of Oz to me is way more than a fantastically well-made tale of brains, hearts and courage. This is the movie that started everything for me. And by everything, I mean everything. I believe this is the first film I ever remember being completely addicted to. My mum tells me when I was like 2 years old, I would watch The Wizard of Oz over and over, reciting all the lines and singing along, which I still do, of course. Without this movie, I do not know who in the hell I'd be. I'd probably be a lot more ordinary and muggle-like for sure, which is absolutely unacceptable. But nevertheless, this is the first movie to give me the feeling. And what is the feeling, you ask? It's the feeling I get when a piece of music or a passage in a book or a film or a show gives me such a feeling of pure excitement, pure magic. But it's not just normal excitement, because plenty of stories can excite me and give me strong emotions. This is a way deeper feeling than that. The best way to describe this feeling is with a story, I suppose. See, I grew up in New York, and I hold my birthland very dearly to my heart. New York just has this feeling of home to me, and whenever I go back there, just seeing the trees and the kind of mistiness about the air, it gives me this tingling feeling and sense of, I am meant to be here. I am meant to be doing this, and all of this just feels perfectly right to me. And right now, I'm home. And it's such a strong and heartwarming feeling that it's almost indescribable. But that's the thing, isn't it? Some things are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be felt. The Wizard of Oz is just that. It is, in my eyes, the perfect movie. Everything just feels right, like home. The songs are brilliant and whimsical and fun, and the look and style and the feel of the film is so magical, yet has this underlying eeriness at the same time. When watching this film, you really get the sense that there is this whole world just beyond the camera, and that this place really does exist over the rainbow. It really captures the essence of L. Frank Baum's book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and makes it even more special by including all of the music and all the dancing, all the beautiful sets and the wonderful actors. The casting is tremendous as well. Judy Garland as Dorothy gives such an emotional performance, especially with Toto, and I really feel for her, especially when Miss Gulch tries to take Toto away. That scene always made me teary-eyed, and now that I'm older and I have my baby sister Trina, it affects me even more, especially since Toto looks so much like Trina. I can't help but think about how heart-wrenching it'd be if someone dared try taking Trina away from me. But anyways, that brings us to the evil Wicked Witch of the West. I mean, how iconic can you get? Margaret Hamilton owns that role. That high, evil cackle she does is so over the top and terrifying, you can't help but love her delicious evilness. And of course, how could you forget about Dorothy's friends that she meets along the way, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. One thing I love about the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion is they all have such wonderful physicality in their roles, along with, the great costuming and makeup. It's surprisingly believable, in a way. for a film that was made in 1939, and even by today's standards, it just looks amazing. The Scarecrow has the funniest faces throughout the entire film, and I just love the way he clumsily walks and skips around. He makes himself look so light and fragile, and the Tin Man moves very clunkily like a Tin Man would, and I love the part when Dorothy finally oils him and he's able to move around and he's just wobbling all over the place. It's so funny. But alas, my favourite of the gang is easily the Cowardly Lion. I just love the way he acts all tough and then he sneezes like a cat. It's always so hilarious to me. And when he tries to eat poor little Toto and so Dorothy smacks him and he starts crying, it's just so bloody perfect. Just the idea to me of a Cowardly Lion is so hilariously perfect. One of my favourite things he says is when he says, he's not slept in days, and the Tin Man suggests counting sheep, but the lion claims he's afraid of them. I feel so much for the Cowardly Lion, because if there's one thing I lack, it is courage. But anyways, the cast is brilliant, and if I sat here saying how much I loved each and every one of them, then that'd take up the whole video, so let's instead talk about the purpose of this video and how this movie directly affected me. There is never a moment in my life when I remember not knowing nor loving The Wizard of Oz. It has always been there, and I've always loved it. As I said before about this film being the start of everything for me, allow me to elaborate. The Wizard of Oz started my obsessive love for everything I love today. The movies I like, the books I like, the music I like, the fashion I like, my love for art, the way I act, it all leads back to watching The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is like this gateway fantasy that led me to Star Wars and Beauty and the Beast, Harry Potter, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Back to the Future, Spider-Man, Peter Pan, Percy Jackson, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and so on and so forth. I could go on for ages. To clarify, it's the film that created my love of magical tales and wizards, science fiction and fantasy lands and spiritual meanings. It intrigued me into the metaphysical, and most importantly, it shaped my unusual music taste, leading me to my love of the greatest composer in the world, John Williams, the composer for Star Wars and Harry Potter. The reason The Wizard of Oz has led to my love of so many other forms of stories and art is because of the themes presented in this film. For instance, there are many, many specific similarities between The Wizard of Oz and Star Wars. These two stories are heavily based in fantasy worlds with strange creatures and characters. They both focus on a group of heroes embarking on a magical adventure of some sort, and I would consider both to be modern fairy tales. Both stories basically begin with a young person who lives on a farm who dreams of flying away, going on some adventure. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy Gale, who lives on a farm with her Uncle Henry and Aunt Em, dreams of going somewhere over the rainbow to a world without trouble. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, who also lives on a farm with his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, dreams of going on an adventure and of joining the Imperial Academy. The musicalness is also another great similarity in the themes from both films, as I would consider both to be musicals. And yes, one could argue that Star Wars isn't a musical, but in my eyes Star Wars is a musical, just without lyrics. There is also one of my favourite plot points in storytelling of disguising up as the bad guy and invading their evil fortress to save a character who's being locked away. In The Wizard of Oz, that being the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, all going to save Dorothy, who's locked away in the Wicked Witch's castle. In Star Wars, Luke, Han, and Chewie all go to save Princess Leia, who's locked away in the detention block of the Death Star. The similarities are uncanny, but I could go on forever talking about them. Basically, The Wizard of Oz introduced me to Star Wars from its magnificent fairy tale-like themes, and Star Wars then introduced me to Harry Potter, another fantastic fairy tale with magic and the same types of themes and storytelling as The Wizard of Oz and Star Wars. Every moment of this film makes me feel something, whether it be laughter, sadness, excitement, or wonderment. 'Tis a part of me in a way, as I too dream of going somewhere over the rainbow. And it is possible. See, stories can take us on adventures. Adventures far beyond the rainbow. Stories give us lands to escape to. Lands far more exciting and magical than our own. These lands can influence us and let us freely become and experience whatever we want. Some people may say these stories are childish, yes, but as a wise man once said, they're for the children in all of us. For this shall the Wizard of Oz always hold a special place inside my soul and my heart. There's just so many aspects about this film that I love so much. The song Over the Rainbow, Toto, the turn from sepia to colour when Dorothy enters Oz, the Munchkins singing about the witch dying, the beautiful ruby slippers, the idea of the yellow brick road leading you on a path, the trees getting angry from their apples being picked, the spooky forests, the shots of Emerald City, how the wizard pretends to play so many characters, the shots of the Wicked Witch's castle, the Wicked Witch melting, and the reveal of the wizard being a fraud. I loved everything about this film, and I'm so grateful to everyone involved in the making of this fantastical film. I'd like to especially take the time to give a huge thank you to Mr. L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The man's a genius storyteller, and I'm so glad he wrote all of the Oz books that he did, for my life wouldn't be the same without him. So, let us raise our glasses to another 80 years of The Wizard of Oz. Hello, thank you for watching. I would like to take this time to thank my patrons for supporting me on the Patreon. I don't get much on there, but I do appreciate all I get. We have John Smith, Manuela Zuger, Corin Gaffari, Jessica Morrill, Connie Christians, Peyton McGowan, Ali Mukabri Jordan, and Little Chumara. Thank you. And if you'd like to become a patron, you can click the description, and you don't have to become a patron to listen to my Harry Potter audiobook that I do there. That is free for you in the posts area. And also, I would like to update you on that I'm not going to be doing the Spellman Coven anymore, just because I don't have time, and I feel like all the stuff I can talk about in my podcast, I can just make a video version of it and talk about it on my YouTube channel, which is kind of what I did for this video, where I just talked about my love for the Wizard of Oz. I felt like I wanted to make this video more special by creating a painting while I talked about it, instead of just pulling random clips off YouTube. That would just be kind of generic and boring, so I just kind of recorded my Mickey Mouse TV playing the movie to give it a more vintage feel, I suppose. So I appreciate your viewership, and goodbye.